You're welcome to another live video on Facebook, and we thank you for joining us today on our Facebook live video. You know, in the last episode, we talked about the maintenance of inverters and how we can get power solution, different methods of getting power solution like coal, wind, solar, and several others. And in our other episode, we talked with an inverter expert, engineer Stanley Nwabueze, who shared some, he told us about some equipment that we need to put together so that we can have another solution, another power solution in our homes. But today, like I promised you the other time, we brought in engineer Stanley Nwabueze to share more with us about inverter installation and some of the processes that are involved in the installation of inverter power solution in our home. Welcome, engineer Stanley Nwabueze.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. You know, Nigerians rely heavily on power supply, but most of the time we don't even have enough power supply. We cannot actually boast about 24 hours power supply. So we rely on inverters and other power solutions so that it will not fail. This is due to the lack of unstable power supply in our country. Why this is understandable, as an expert engineer in power solution, we would like you to advise the people on the use of inverters, and we'd like you to tell us whether they are safe.
Good morning. My name is Engineer Stanley Nwabueze. On the use of inverter and whether they are safe, well, I would say that inverters, they are 100% safe to use in the house.
So even if you have children at home, you're sure that the children will be safe with the inverters in the home?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you are going to tell us about some of the processes involved in the installation of inverter and solar and all that. What are those things that you showed us in the warehouse the other day, and how do we put them together?
Okay, thank you very much. The process of installing an inverter in your house is quite a lot of process, but I will just take it step by step.
Okay.
Yeah. The first step is that you need to have your materials available, and what are those materials that you need? Is one, you need the inverter.
Okay.
That is the machine that does the conversion of the battery power to your electrical power you can use in the house.
Okay.
And then you need the battery, and then you also need a rack. You need the solar panels, you need the cables and other small accessories like the insulating tape and all that.
Okay.
Once you have that in place,
yeah.
And then the next step is to do a site survey. What do we mean by a site survey? We come to your house, we check your house, and then we recommend a capacity of inverter that you can use in the house.
Okay.
And which means that the inverter cannot power everything in your house.
Okay, that means you have to isolate those things that you want the inverter to power.
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Okay.
So once we do the site survey, and then we pick a point where the inverter is going to be installed, and then where your solar panel is going to be installed also.
Yeah.
And then the next step we'll do is, once you acquire those materials, we bring them to your house, and then we mount the battery, we mount the inverter, and then we do a load selection. Now, the load selection is based on what you want to be connected to the inverter. Now, those selected loads will be connected to the inverter. And then after that, we now choose a point where we mount the solar panel. We can either choose to mount the solar panel on the roof, or we mount it on the carport, or we do a separate canopy for it. So there are so many ways of mounting the panel, but after that, after mounting the panel, we'll connect the panel to the battery, to a charge controller, first, before connecting to the battery, because the whole idea of having a solar panel is just to charge your battery.
Okay, the solar panel
yes,
charges the battery.
The battery. It's just another alternative of charging your battery other than the PHCN or generator.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is the sole idea of having the solar panel. So once we do that, and then we connect to the charge controller is what controls the charging that comes from the solar panel and to the battery. It what controls the charging that comes from the solar to the battery.
Yeah.
And then after we've done that, then you are now you now have an alternative power supply, or let me say an uninterrupted power supply installed in your house.
Okay, now you connect from the solar outside to the battery or to the inverter.
No, we connect to a charge controller.
To the charge controller?
Yeah, before connecting to the battery.
To the battery?
Yes.
Now, at what point do you connect to the inverter?
Now, the battery is connected to the inverter. So whatever comes from the charge controller to the battery is also connected to the inverter.
Okay, so how do you dispense to the appliances in the home?
Now, the inverter has an input side and it also has an output side.
Okay.
Yes. So the input side is used for charging, while the output side conveys the power from the inverter to the house.
To the house.
Yes.
Now, how can you choose the electrical appliances that you want the inverter to power?
Okay. In every home, in every house,
yeah,
I would say there is an existing electrical connection, and then there is also a box that distributes light to every point in the house. Every socket links to a particular box, and we call that box the distribution box.
Okay.
Yes. So it is from that distribution box we now select the points where the inverter is going to supply.
Okay, from the distribution box. That's what we call the DB.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what kind of loads do you think you can advise people to use the inverter to power?
The inverter is more or less an electronic device. Sorry. So it doesn't work like the normal generator that we have.
Yes.
So there are so many loads that in the inverter can power, and there are some that the inverter cannot power.
Okay.
Now we have ranges of inverter with different capacities, ranging from 1 kVA to 2 kVA, 3.5, 5 kVA, 7.5, 10 kVA, even up to 150 kVA.
Different
capacities of inverter.
Okay.
Now, when you are using a small capacity of inverter, then you have to do a thorough load selection, in the sense that there are particular loads that you cannot use. And what are those loads? You cannot use, on that small inverter, you cannot use the pressing iron, you cannot use the water heater, you cannot use the AC, you cannot use the electric cooker, the electric boiler, and all that, those heavy loads you cannot use on the small capacity.
Okay. And when you say small capacity, you mean like 5 kVA?
No, the small capacity will mean like the 1 kVA and the 1.5 kVA, 2 kVA, and then maybe 3.5 kVA. But the 3.5 kVA is a bit more spacious to accommodate at least freezer and fridge.
Okay. Is it possible to fix an inverter without using a solar panel to charge the battery?
Yes, it is possible. It is possible. The reason why we use solar is because you know how our power supply is in the country, and that is why we recommend solar panel as an alternative source of charging.
Okay.
Now, in areas where you have, let's say, uninterrupted power supply for, let's say, for like 12 hours or close to 15 hours, you don't need the solar panel. Okay.
Is it possible also to use the solar panel to directly, you fix it directly to the house so that the house does not, or the building does not generate, does not use power from AEDC or any other solution, just directly from solar?
Yes.
Is it possible to do that?
Yes. There are two types of installation that we do.
Yeah.
There is one we call total off-grid, and there is one we call hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah. The total off-grid is that you are not connected to the power grid or the national grid.
At
You
all?
rely solely on solar.
On solar. Okay.
That is the total off-grid.
Okay. So, but
Now,
when it's hybrid, you have
yes, when it is hybrid, you have both the national grid and then you have the solar,
the solar.
combined.
Okay.
Together.
Now, these solar panels, do they last for a long time?
Yes, the lifespan of a solar panel is 25 years. And of course, if nothing happens to it, if nobody throws stone on the panel or because it is made of a glass material, if it is not broken, it is possible the panel can stay up to 5 years.
Okay. Do you think that after fixing the inverter, you can start using it immediately?
Like some other devices that uses battery, you know, when you buy a new battery, it is advised you charge the battery first.
Okay.
You have to do the first charging before you start using the inverter.
Before you start using the inverter. Okay, now, if you have an inverter in the house and maybe the battery runs down or maybe the solar did not charge it properly, you can now can you use a generator or you can use the national grid power supply to charge the battery for you, maybe to jumpstart it or something?
Yes, it is possible. And like I explained earlier, there are different capacities of inverter. Likewise, there are different capacities of generator. Now, if you are going to use an alternative source of like generator to start to charge the battery, then it has to be a generator that the capacity is quite higher than the inverter.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if our viewers at home, I believe you're gaining something from this interview with engineer Stanley Nwabueze. If you have any question, you can type it and send it to us in the comment section of this video. Now, how long do you think an inverter should last? You said the solar panel should last like 25 years.
Yes, you know, for you to enjoy the inverter, it relies on the battery. When you have a good battery, then you are rest assured that you can enjoy your inverter. Now, the inverter there are batteries that have a lifespan of 2 to 3 years, while there are some that has a lifespan of 5 years. Like the one I showed you in my warehouse, where we have two kinds
yes, you
of
showed us
we
two
have
different
the dry
batteries.
cell and then we have the wet cell.
Okay.
So those batteries, the dry cell have a lifespan of 2 to 3 years, while the wet cell has a lifespan of 5 years. So, and if you use it properly or you maintain it regularly, it can stay up to that amount of years.
Okay, now, for instance, you have a young person that is just starting his life, okay? And he has, maybe he's staying in a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom apartment. What is your recommendation of the type of capacity for the inverter or the solar panels that he needs?
Yes, it is. You know, there are some people that stay in 1-bedroom or even a room self-contained that has a property that's even a 3-bedroom flat.
Does not have.
Does not have.
Okay.
So before we recommend inverter for you, we'll have to visit your house and then we'll take a load estimate of what you have in your house, and then we'll give you let's say a power solution that can at least accommodate your budget that you have.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have to work with what he needs.
Yes.
And how much he has, to balance it. Okay, is that what is called power audit?
Somehow I would say it is.
Okay.
I would say it is because when we come to your house, we'll take we do an estimate of how many hours you want your equipment to run.
Okay.
Like how many hours in a day do you want them to be on, and how many hours in a day do you have light, and all that kind of questions, so that we can actually give you a good recommendation of an inverter that you can use.
It's okay. Now, is it possible to just connect just a lighting source for the power in the house? Maybe just lights, the TV, maybe the radio, maybe the fan, or just these things, if you have just maybe, let's say like 5 lighting bulbs in the house,
Okay.
and you have a TV, maybe the one that does not consume too much power, then you have fan, maybe a rechargeable fan. What kind of inverter and solar panel can you advise somebody to acquire?
Okay, when you have such kind of load, you know, sometimes the light will talk about, let it be energy savers. We have LED lights that are not more than 5 watts,
Yeah.
or that are more than 10 watts.
Okay, so we should
So,
use energy saving
yes,
bulbs.
it should be energy savers.
Okay.
And then if you have that kind of light and then one TV and maybe one fan, you can use the one of one battery. A 1 kVA will power
A 1
those
kVA
load,
inverter.
Yes, 1 kVA inverter.
And
It can
power
power those loads for at least 12 hours.
for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Now, if it is recharging itself from the sun, that means during the day it's recharging itself. Then you can use the inverter at night.
And now there is how this solar panel works. When we install a solar panel in an apartment, we try to create an avenue where you can use your appliances in the daytime and as well charge the battery.
So
Now-
during the day, the solar is powering your home
Yes.
and charging the battery.
Yes.
Then at night, you can now use the
Use-
stored
now you-
power
yes, stored
from the
power
battery.
yes.
Okay. Now, if it's like a bigger home, maybe like a duplex or so, maybe 3-4 bedroom duplex apartment, and they have maybe 1 or 2 ACs that they want to power. You have your TV and maybe like about 20 bulbs and maybe like 3 fans and so on. What will you recommend?
Like in a duplex, we recommend from 5 kVA and above.
Okay,
Yes.
just like we do, use the generator. Okay. Now, can you give us 1 or 2 advantages of using the inverter?
There are so many advantages if we want to start mentioning them. Like 1, it is noiseless.
Okay.
2, it is it has 0 or let's say little or no running cost.
No running cost.
Yes.
You just
Unlike
need
the
initial-
generator, when you have the generator, you have to fuel it all the
Well,
time.
okay.
But the inverter is just let's say one-time spending. Then after that, you don't have to spend money to run the inverter.
Inverter.
Yeah. So at another one is that I think there are so many of them, but I'm still trying to.
Yeah, maybe no smoke,
Yes, there is no smoke.
no fire outbreak.
No
I'm
fire.
helping you out
There is no fire outbreak and
and all that.
and stuff like that. So
Okay, I'm seeing a question here. It's saying that he has a solar panel and he doesn't know whether it is affected by lightning or thunder or something, but that the solar panel is not really working very well. It's not supplying power to the inverter or
Okay.
to the battery.
he has a solar panel, and then
Yes.
there is a thunder.
He doesn't know whether the thunder has affected it or...
Well, the thing is that solar panels and lightning, they are not friends. And anywhere you have solar panels like that, when there is a thunderstorm, it tends to affect the inverter, not even the solar panel.
Okay, it affects the inverter.
The inverter. The reason is that the solar panel is connected to the battery,
Yeah.
and then it is also connected to the inverter. So when there is a surge, like that thunderstorm, that lightning that comes, when that surge comes, it goes through the solar panel, through
Yeah.
the battery, and that's why sometimes when we discover that the environment is prone to lightning, what we do is we earth the solar panel,
Okay.
and then we earth the inverter also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, thank you for being with us in this video today. What is your advice for inverter users?
Well, what I'll advise them is, one, you don't overload your inverter, don't overuse it, and when your inverter gives an alarm of battery low, make sure you shut it down.
Okay, so there will be an alarm.
Yes.
Okay.
So you shut it down, but there are some people that when the inverter gives alarm of battery low,
They keep using
they keep using it. They will go and reduce some load to see if they can still have more time.
Okay.
So it is advisable to shut it down at that time so that you don't endanger the life of the battery. And then also try to do regular cleanup and then maintenance on the inverter, which is very, very important.
Okay. What is your advice for those people who are not using inverters now? What is your advice for them?
My advice for them is for them to try as much as they can to fall into the class of those that use inverter.
Fall into the class of those using inverter.
Because it's a class. Because if you are in the class of those that use inverter, then you will know how important it is when there is no light.
Well, yeah, that's true. So now, do you think we can have inverter that can power a small estate? Is that possible?
Yes, it's possible.
You have an inverter that can power the estate.
That's why
with solar panels.
Yes, that's why I said that the inverter comes in various capacities. There is inverter that can let's say up to about 500 kVA inverter or 1000 kVA inverter.
You know, we've been talking about this inverter, but we didn't talk about the cost.
Yes, we haven't said anything about the cost.
What do you think a 1 kVA inverter power solution can cost? What is your range?
Well, the thing is that since there are so many inverter in the market,
yeah,
and there are so many brands,
yeah,
there are so many brands of battery.
Yeah.
So the kind of cost I might give you, you might go to the market and then it's something else.
Okay, so it depends on...
It depends on the brand.
On the brand of the
yes,
battery and the inverter that you want to use. Thank you, viewers, for being with us today. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the processes of installing an inverter. And we thank you, Engineer Stanley Nwabueze, for being with us in the house today. Thank you for those of you who have joined us on our Facebook page, on our YouTube page, those who have subscribe to our channel. We want to say a big thank you to you, and we hope to see you same time next week on another interesting episode on Property Doctor. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please do so on the link below, and you can also subscribe to our Facebook page at Property Doctor NG, and on our Instagram Property Doctor NG, or on Twitter at Property Doc NG. We hope to see you next time. Stay safe and bye.